Elena Novak stood in the corner of the grand ballroom, her white shirt and dark vest marking her as staffed among the sea of evening gowns and tuxedos. At 24, she had worked as a server for Ashford events for 2 years, always invisible, always in the background while wealthy guests celebrated their wealth. Tonight's gala was the biggest of the season, hosted by Vincent Ashford himself, the billionaire whose company employed half the city. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across marble floors, and champagne flowed as freely as conversation. Elena was clearing glasses from a side table when she heard the laughter. A group of young executives stood near the grand piano, their voices carrying that particular edge of cruelty masked as humor. "I bet the help can't even read music," one man said loudly, gesturing toward Elena. Probably never touched a piano in their lives. His companions laughed, and Elena felt heat rise to her cheeks. She kept her eyes down, reaching for another empty glass. "Hey, you," the man called out. "Piano girl, come here." Elena had no choice. Refusing would cost her the job. She approached slowly, aware that conversations around them were quieting, that people were beginning to watch. "My friends and I have a bet," the executive said, his breath smelling of expensive scotch. "We think you can't play a single note, but I'm willing to give you a chance to prove us wrong. Sit down and play something. Anything." The room had gone quiet now. Elena looked at the piano, then at the crowd of people watching her with expressions ranging from amusement to pity. She saw her supervisor near the kitchen doors, shaking his head slightly, warning her not to make a scene. Then her eyes met those of Vincent Ashford himself. He stood about 30 feet away, perhaps 35 years old, impeccably dressed in a dark tuxedo. His expression was unreadable, but he was watching, waiting. Elena made a decision. She walked to the piano and sat down on the bench, her fingers hovering over the keys. The room held its breath, waiting for her to embarrass herself, to confirm what they already believed about people who served drinks and cleared tables. Elena closed her eyes and began to play. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major filled the ballroom, soft and achingly beautiful. Her fingers moved across the keys with the confidence of someone who had spent years learning this language, who understood that music was more than notes on a page. The laughter died completely. Elena played from memory, from the heart, from all those nights after her father died, when the piano was the only place she could go to feel close to him again. He had been a piano teacher, a gentle man who had shown her that music wasn't about performance or showing off. It was about truth, about expressing what words couldn't capture. As she played, the melody shifted from Chopin to something else, something she had written herself. It was a piece about loss and love, about working 3 jobs to pay off her father's medical debts, about finding beauty in small moments when everything else fell heavy. The ballroom was completely silent except for the piano. Women in expensive gowns had tears on their cheeks. Men in tuxedos stood frozen, glasses forgotten in their hands. Elena didn't see any of it. She was somewhere else, somewhere the chandeliers and judgment couldn't reach. She was in her father's small studio apartment, 7 years old again, watching his hands move across the keys as he taught her that every person had music inside them waiting to be heard. When the final note faded, the silence stretched for what felt like forever. Then Vincent Ashford began to clap. It started slowly, his hands coming together in steady rhythm. Then others joined, and suddenly the entire ballroom erupted in applause. People were standing, and Elena realized with shock that some were crying openly. She stood from the piano bench, her legs shaking, unsure what to do. Vincent walked toward her through the crowd, which parted automatically. When he reached her, he extended his hand, not as an employer to an employee, but as one human being to another. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Elena Novak, sir." "Elena," he repeated. then turned to address the room, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to being heard. This young woman just taught us all something important. We invited her to play as a joke, to confirm our assumptions about who deserves respect and who doesn't. Instead, she gave us a gift we didn't earn and certainly don't deserve. He looked back at her. Your father taught you play? Elena's eyes widened. How did you know? Because I recognize the love in every note, Vincent said simply. My mother was a pianist. She died when I was 12. I haven't heard anyone play like that, with that kind of heart, since I lost her. He paused, and Elena saw his eyes were wet. What was the second piece? I didn't recognize it. I wrote it, Elena admitted, after my father passed away. He had cancer. The medical bills took everything we had. I've been working to pay them off. Vincent nodded slowly, then turned to the executive who had called Elena over. You're fired. Clear out your desk Monday morning. The man's face went white. Sir, I was just having a little fun dash. You were being cruel to someone you perceived as powerless, Vincent interrupted. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. We don't need people like that in my company. He looked around the room. Anyone else here who thought tormenting the staff was entertaining? The door's behind you. Leave now. No one moved except the fired executive, who left quickly, his face burning with shame. Vincent turned back to Elena. I'd like to offer you a position. My mother established a foundation before she died to provide music education to children who couldn't afford lessons. It's been floundering because I haven't found the right person to run it. Someone who understands that music isn't about privilege or performance. It's about giving voice to what lives inside us all. Elena stared at him. I'm not qualified to run a foundation. You're more qualified than anyone I've interviewed, Vincent said. You understand what music means to people who don't have much else. You can teach children what your father taught you, that they matter, that their voice deserves to be heard. He pulled a card from his pocket. The salary is $100,000 a year to start. Full benefits. And I'll personally pay off your father's medical debt. Not as charity, but as payment for what you gave me tonight. You reminded me why my mother loved music. You reminded me why any of this matters. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it, Vincent replied gently. Take a few days. The offer stands regardless. He turned to address the ballroom once more. The entertainment for tonight is concluded. The bar remains open. Please treat the staff serving you with the respect they deserve, or you'll answer to me personally. 3 days later, Elena accepted the position. Within a year, the foundation had expanded to 12 cities, bringing music education to thousands of children. Elena hired teachers like her father had been. Patient, kind, more interested in nurturing souls and producing prodigies. And sometimes, late at night in the foundation's main office, Elena would sit at the piano and play. Not for an audience, not to prove anything, but because her father had.